Hello and welcome to Hard Copy from our Channels Television studios in Abuja. I'm Kayla Magwa. Tonight we turn our attention to the presidency and we'll be looking at the Tinubu brand and what that brand stands for, and if that brand and what it stands for is the right fit for the Nigerian people at this point in time. This style of governance, which many refer to as old school, is it catering to the few nostalgic and ignoring the realities of a new generation of Nigerian? It's been a rough 3 years for the Tinubu presidency. And when I say rough, I mean rough from the perspective of the ordinary Nigerian. How the president is perceived on all levels has been quite problematic, whether his party, his supporters, or his staff want to believe it or not. The phrase, "This Tinubu government self now wow," is the perfect icebreaker, drawing long sighs from Nigerians from the market to the beer parlor. This Tinubu government self now wow. If my job was to make your life better, and every time my name is brought up, you respond in that way, I would be worried. Maybe what I'm doing and what I think I'm doing are not the same thing. Am I failing? Those around the president are always quick to say, "Oh, don't worry, Mr. President. It's just the opposition baying for blood." Other times they say, "Oh, we have no control over that. What were we supposed to do to stop Israel and America's war with Iran?" Well, you can't stop a war, but you can prepare for the impact of one on your people. That's why your government, with access to unlimited resources and taxes from us, the people who trusted you with this power over us. Or maybe we just don't understand his style of governance. Is that what's happening with the Nigerian people and the president? We lack the patience to take these steps with him on this road to a glorious future. Are we unable to trust the process? The complicated understanding of the Tinubu brand is our focus tonight on Hard Copy, with my guest, Otega Ogra, the Senior Special Assistant to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on digital engagement, strategy, and media. Mr. Otega Ogra, or as people like to call you, the Tiger.
Good evening.
Welcome to Hard Copy.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, let's start off with the immediate things going on right now. You are going to be the secretary of the digital aspect of the APC
National
Conference that's coming up this weekend.
Yes.
What does that entail?
So basically, we are creating a national broadcast event. And my committee, the Digital and New Media Committee, will be doing everything from digital strategy, communications, and showing the world why the largest black party in the black world, and actually in Africa, is doing things differently, can do things differently, and has always done things differently. The convention will be another point in our life cycle to show not just APC members, but other political parties how to run a party, how to do things properly without the bickering and infighting that you find everywhere else. And it's our hope that, a lot of all these other political parties would come and learn, because the quicker they learn from us, the stronger we can define Nigeria.
That's a bit arrogant. They should come learn from you.
It's very important that they do. We need a strong democracy. We need a democracy that is not just by saying things that are not based in facts. You would agree with me, and the data supports me, that APC, by virtue of their constitution, by virtue of the way they've run their affairs, has been able to distinguish itself from other political parties. And that's because we're a party that believes in the rule of law, we're a party that believes in the rule of our constitution, and we're a party that, follows these rules.
Some will say that you're a party that knows how to infiltrate other parties and destabilize them. Make all the governors come onto you, make sure that you have all of the leverage, use your war chest. The party that knows how to buy people over. But you're buying office holders. And
you just said,
what about the Nigerian people? Is it this rice that we're sharing?
It's interesting that you say this. One thing I know is that, one, when you do good, people will flock to it. Mr. President has not begged any subnational leader to come to the APC. He's not actively sought for any subnational leader to come to the APC. Their accounts, their state accounts, is enough reason for them to believe that, oh, this is someone who is, standing on the side of the people. The president has not shied away from calling out the governors when he needs to call them out. He has told them, let the poor breathe. He has ensured that states, have more money to do their work. I would like to say something. Nigeria is at a very defining moment. It's not a time for applause. It's not a time for shouts. It's not a time to celebrate ourselves. It's a time for reorganization. And the president, Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has taken it upon himself to do that. I mean, it might not be the most beautiful thing to watch, but we all know, and many times on Channels TV and even on hard copy, I've heard people say these things, that we needed to make the structural changes that we have done. And that is the point where we are today.
Is it that we're not patient? Because, you may be looking at things from, if you're looking at a job from the standpoint of someone who's doing it and the standpoint of someone who's watching you do it,
True.
Sometimes it's very different. And for many Nigerians, they're taking a look, and we keep hearing the same thing. We're on our way to Eldorado. We'll give us it's a journey. Just take these steps with me. But the Nigerian people are thinking, how many steps am I going to take? I have been trying to take these steps with you for 3 years. My life is almost at an end. My income is deteriorating. My quality of life is deteriorating. And you're coming again now to tell me to vote for you again. Why should I? I've been waiting for 3 years and you weren't able to do anything. Well, at least you said you were doing something, but I can't feel it in my pockets.
Exactly. So there are two classes of people in Nigeria today. The Nigerians that see things based on their perception, and the Nigeria that's experiencing a structural change. I'm not yet to say, no, people are not feeling the hits of the reforms that are going on in their pockets. Mr. President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has taken up a job. His brand of leadership is reform anchored in reality. Reform anchored in reality. We are at a point in our life cycle, like I said earlier, where structural reforms needed to be done. The president did not mince words. He could have said, hey, let me plead to the gallery and given Nigerians the short-term fixes that they needed. But as Winston Churchill said, people tend to do the right things after they have done everything else. Nigeria had done everything else. Structurally, things have improved.
Okay.
Now, it might not match the perception of people, and this is where I'm going to have a slight disagreement to your earlier statement. As we speak today in this country, over 400 roads are being done. On the average, on each of those roads, between 500 to 3,000 people are being employed. Do the math. That is direct employment from those alone. Those are people that on a normal day, maybe they don't have the time to, be complaining that this Tinubu government, like you said, because they're busy working. They're busy getting jobs and employed. These are people that are working every day. The math is there. You can always go and fact check me on this. Now, aside those, now we've talked about a basket of maybe 300,000 to 400,000 people gainfully employed now, and you're talking of both skilled and unskilled workers. There's also an economy around those constructions that are taking place. From your food sellers, all those people are working
Construction
there.
material.
Exactly. And for every kilometer of road that is done, there are various community economies, state economies that have been improved as a result of that.
Right, let's go back to what you were saying about the Tinubu brand. You said his brand of leadership is reform based on reality. And it's important for people to understand where your background is. Your background is branding. You're an expert when it comes to branding and things like that. That's something you've been doing. And you used to do it for BUA before you were hired.
Wema Bank and GT Bank.
Of course, and Wema Bank and GT Bank. So image and perception and branding is something that you're an expert on. The brand of Tinubu as a president and the perception of that brand among the Nigerian people. Do you find that there's a disconnect between what he says he is and how the Nigerian people feel about him? Do you feel that?
It's very important that we situate the brand, and I'm happy that you said so. Mr. President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, his brand is not built for popularity cycles.
It's not a popularity brand?
It's never been built for popularity cycles.
Okay.
His brand, his personal brand, has always been built for nation building. And those two things rarely move along the same pace. They can converge at some points, but they rarely move along the same pace. Let me use Lagos as an example. When it got into Lagos, and I was still watching some of those videos recently, filth was everywhere, even in Victoria Island and Ikoyi. You could hardly walk the length of, the Zenith Bank Road, Ajose Adeogun. Filth took off over one side of the road. Same thing with Zumba and Badui and everything. And the same thing with the transportation system. We had the BRT, the Molue buses and the yellow big buses that were all, dilapidated and everything. And it came in and brought about certain structural changes, similar to what it's doing in Nigeria today. And what did the people do? The people revolted. But because he knows the kind of leader he is a servant leader, is a leader that knows, how to take courageous decisions even when the world is against him and his back is against the wall. He decided to push on with his reforms. I mean, if the Enron issue had not happened and if the former president, whilst he was governor, had not blocked the power deal, Lagos should probably be selling power now with the new Electricity Act to other states in the southwest, and why not even to Nigeria? But guess what? Today, Lagos is the darling of Nigeria's commercial enterprise. The biggest contributor to our GDP as a state, and that is where development planning, long-term national development planning comes into place. That is the Tinubu brand. He is one of the most mentally capable, the most mentally aware, and the most emotionally, intelligent leaders that we've ever had.
So basically what you're painting for me is a picture of someone who's doing what needs to be done. And even though you don't like him right now because it's going to hurt you to get the right things done, you will appreciate him later. Is that what you're saying? Are we going to appreciate him when he leaves office?
I think a lot of people are already appreciating President Bola Ahmed Tinubu right now. And I'll give you very clear instances. I was in London last week. And, because of my background in the private sector, I had some sit-downs with a couple of private bankers and the rest. These people saw opportunity in Nigeria when many Nigerians were still bickering and fighting the president 2 years ago. From the stock exchange to investments in this country, they took positions. Today, they're all cashing out. Many of us, and I say us because I'm still a Nigerian citizen, are just coming to that realization that, oh wow, this person, in the person of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has put in the right things in place to ensure that every Nigerian, regardless of who you are, regardless of who you know, can take advantage of the opportunities that are inherent in our country. We've got the resources, we've got the people, we've got the will, and we've got the smarts to be the center of Africa and the world. Nigeria as it is today has everything it takes. All we needed was a leader who would not be swayed by popular emotion, who would be able to take those hard decisions, but who is also knowledgeable enough to put the right things in motion to ensure that the period of pain does not extend too long to the point where it's unbearable for Nigerians.
Yeah, that's one side of it. But then there's also the fact that many people, one of his biggest critics, say President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his team are very far removed from the reality of the Nigerian people. And that trip to London is one of those issues that people brought up. We had one of his SSAs here last week, and she was saying basically, listen, the fact that he went to London doesn't mean he won't go to Borno. He might come back and go back. He wasn't going to stay there forever. We understand that, but there's the optics of things, isn't there? There's the showing of emotion. We did see the statements before he traveled, but for many people, come on, there's a statement that your people have died. So maybe they wanted more from him. Maybe show up there. Maybe show up there for 10 minutes. Show up in Borno for 10 minutes before you go for a state banquet where they're rolling out red carpets for you and you're having, such dinners and whatnot.
What I want to say, and I'm going to use this opportunity to say it, is when criminals and terrorists and such elements are desperate, they tend to make desperate decisions as to the dastardly acts they created in Borno. My heart goes out to every single person affected by the Borno incident. But I never miss the opportunity to say this. We must give kudos. And we must, continue to support our men and women of the armed forces. Daily, they are laying down their lives for us. The president has no men's word. I mean, on Sunday, he had a call with President Macron. And based on our wins on the field, we're still looking for equipment elsewhere. He's our chief diplomat, our diplomat in chief. He needs to make those trips. And the fact that he made that trip did not mean that the business of governments and the business of our security architecture at the highest levels were not fully operational and fully briefing him during that period. His vice president has gone there in the person of Vice President Kashim Shettima. You know, he has sent other people there. He's sent his chief of defense staff. He's sent his chief of army staff. He's sent the right, you know, security leaders to go there and see what they can do to alleviate the sufferings of the people. Don't forget that within the same period too, another town in Borno was beside, and the terrorists had the guts to threaten the Nigerian people and tell them that they were going to prevent them from observing the end of Ramadan in their mosque. Guess what our men and women of the armed forces did? They went there, they attacked those guys, and they were able to secure those places, the mosque especially, for our people of Borno, and they prayed with them to end the fasting there. So yes, there are a lot of wins of our men and women on the field. What I would want to see from the media, and I say this not to, you know, denigrate the work that the media is doing, is to see us, you know, start to tell the stories of their courage, start to tell the stories of their wins. Let the terrorists know that there is no place for them, you know, across the 923,000 square kilometers of Nigeria.
But we do have to go on a short break, and before we do both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. We can do
That's
both.
fine.
We can call out the president and praise our troops.
Definitely. We are open to you calling us out. We want you to call us out.
We'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we're looking at other things that the president is being criticized for right now, as the APC is gearing up for his national convention and presenting him again to the Nigerian people. So please, stay with us on Hard Copy. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Hard Copy. If you just joined us, Mr. Otega Ogra joins us tonight, the SSA to the President on Digital and New Media. Thanks again for being with us on the program.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's talk about some things that we've heard some of the spokespersons of the President say, well, we couldn't do anything about this, but we're doing what we can. We're on top of the situation, and that's about the rising cost of everything as a result of this war in the Middle East. Now, one of the criticisms against the President is, well, we know you can't stop a war, but wasn't any preparation done in place in case of one? Isn't that what government does? Plan ahead in case of emergencies? So what social investment buffer is there for the Nigerian people? That is not a bag of rice.
Critical social investment buffer that the president brought in, looking forward as a forward-thinking president, in 2023, he set up the presidential CNG initiative, compressed natural gas initiative. Just a few months ago, even before the war, he expanded the scope of that initiative to include EVs. I mean, Barrister Ismail is the CEO of that initiative, and EVC. Why did he do that? Because we understood something. At any point in time, the average Nigerian is at the mercy of anything that affects two things. One, global supply chains, and two, global fuel supply. Every country in the world is feeling it today. Yes, Nigeria is one of the ones, the prices have risen the highest. But in the period since 2023, you've had over 200,000 cars convert to CNGs. We did free conversions for commercial transportation owners, for interstate transport owners, and because the president knows that there's so little that the government itself can do in providing these things, we made it free of duty for those who manufacture vehicles in Nigeria, those who want to bring kits, those who want to bring, the machines for the infrastructure side of this, to be able to bring these things into the country free of duties. And anybody, including yourself, can take advantage of that, because transportation costs is one of the, biggest, and transport and logistics.
It's one of the biggest issues.
Yes, it's one of the biggest issues. But you see, what we also saw when we introduced the CNG initiative was that regular Nigerians like you and I, who are taking advantage of these free kits, conversion kits, into their cars, who are in the transportation business, regular Nigerians like you and I, were still charging the costs, despite getting, spending 8 times less.
So the problem is greedy Nigerians?
Per kilometers. I'm not going to say
is the
that
problem
is the problem.
Nigerians?
I'm just saying that everybody has a role to play in ensuring that we support each other in times of crisis. The meeting the president had when he broke fasting for Christmas and Lent, the interfaith breaking of fast that he did with the governors, it was very clear. He told the governors to their face, I need you. We've given you more money. You get more than you've ever gotten as a subnational. I need you to let the benefits of that, distill down to the grassroots, because they are the ones that suffer the most. A timeline.
Okay.
And that timeline is the fact that in 2 years, Nigeria as a country, and I'll use 3 countries as an example, Nigeria, Ghana, Argentina. As of 2023, we were always lumped into the same baskets. What did Argentina do? They sacked almost their entire public service. They cut a lot of jobs, and did so much haircuts that the economy basically collapsed. The opposition that you mentioned earlier on in this conversation were always telling President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because they are bereft of ideas, to copy the Argentina model. And I thank God that he never listened to them, because we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. We'd have had something much worse on our hands. The same thing too with the other country in Africa. They've had to seek bailouts just to stabilize. Nigeria, on the other hand, despite everything we had, the backlog of people who had brought in their clear investments into this country and wanted to take it out, we couldn't pay them. We couldn't give them their funds to take back out. We had the airlines, holding us by the jugular, asking for their money. We had, subsidy bills. We had all those things. We couldn't even pay salaries in June 2023 if we had not removed those things. Nigeria, despite that, just by following the reforms that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu needed to do under the renewed hope agenda, has been able to stabilize itself. If not for the crisis in the Middle East as we speak, we had 2 quarters of disinflation in the prices of food. And please fact check me if you can before the end of this conversation. A lot of times, many of us on the government sides come to studios like this and we want to talk based on propaganda. But I think sometimes it helps the Nigerian people when we look at things in context.
How do you handle the propaganda on social media? Because that's where the bulk of your work is, isn't it?
Yes,
selling this brand.
Yes, okay, for people to express themselves. That right is guaranteed by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. There's nothing I would do about that other than continuing to show walk-ins. And as a young person in government, when the current crop of our leaders leave the stage, it will become our turn, to start to lead and take certain roles. It simply means that by aligning myself with this administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, my entire legacy is automatically tied to it. And knowing myself as a very frugal and smart person, if we were doing the wrong thing, I would have jumped ship.
You would have jumped ship?
If you were doing the wrong thing.
If you felt this was not the right way to
go. But I can see President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for what he is. He's someone who truly believes in Nigeria, is someone who truly believes in what we can do within this first 4 years of his administration, because I believe he's going to get re-elected. Yesterday, during our committee inauguration, we actually endorsed him for a second term. I believe he's going to be able to do that. And I can see it. And knowing myself also, I am not one person to keep quiet to my principles if I think we're going in the wrong direction.
As we wrap up, for the convention that's coming up this weekend, yeah. I mean, well, it's a party, isn't it? The convention is a party, but many people are looking at your political party and thinking an implosion is inevitable. You've gotten too many cooks in this kitchen, and many people don't even know if the APC will be able to survive after he leaves, after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu leaves. If he wins the next election, who's going to coordinate all these people? Everything is the Tinubu factor. The Tinubu brand seems to be keeping the APC together. What happens when he's not there? What happens to the APC?
The APC is a party that has always lived true to its constitution. Whilst others were having one person create their constitution and keeping it in their house, only bringing it out to go to court cases and things like that, the APC is a party by the many for the many and will continue to do right for the many. Simple. People have come to associate themselves with the APC because they can see the genuineness of thoughts, the genuineness of action, and the genuineness of intent. They can see it, and they've come to associate with the party. The party will survive whatever comes up. But one thing I know about the APC, the All Progressives Congress, is that they would always rally around their leaders. You can take that to the bank. APC is here to stay. I don't hope we do not make the same mistakes as some, other parties have made. I would love to call them funny parties, but I can't because that would be very disrespectful. I've made in the past where they had hubris and thought that nothing could fracture the party.
People think your party is heading there.
Our party is guided by its constitution, and the constitution will continue to guide the actions of the APC into the future. But it's very simple. The All Progressive Congress was founded on certain principles, and the Nigerian people are the heart of those principles. Continue to ask, continue to demand accountability. It is very important. We are not afraid of it. We actually welcome it. And see whether, when you demand accountability for us, we do not take your complaints on board or your feedback on board and make the changes that you need to be made. But Nigeria will succeed. Nigeria, everyone must put their hands together. We must work together. We must support our leadership because this is the only country we've got.
Well, Mr. Tega Ogra, that's all the time we have on Hard Copy. But I want to thank you very much for all the work you have ahead of you, the convention, making out the time in the midst of all of that to come and see us here.
I'll
Thank
do
you.
this any day, anytime. And I enjoyed our conversation.
Well, good luck with all the work you have ahead of you.
Thank you.
That's Hard Copy this week. I'm Kayla Magwa. Good night.